Hey, what is going on? It is 12 noon on Wednesday, which means it's time for this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Christmas. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you understand the technical side of the real estate industry. And what we're talking about today are new agent survival tips. So if you're a new agent, this episode is specifically for you. And we call it survival tips because these are little tips to help your business survive through this crucial phase of basically being a startup. I mean, you hear people talk all the time about, startup this or startup that. And usually when you use that term startup, you're thinking of like some sort of tech company or something that does something that you don't quite understand what it is that they do. And so we call them a startup. But really, the reality is that term applies to any business that's just starting up because it just means that it's in its infancy phases. And just like a human infant, it needs special care and attention to ensure it grows and develops into something it is that you're proud of. So if you want to grow your business into something it is that you're proud of, these tips are here to help keep you in it, to help keep you progressing forward, and help you achieve success as quickly, as soon as possible. So really excited to bring today's show to you. I'm John Christmas. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
You are watching Ask the Instructor. Absorb the knowledge. Become the expert.
And welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Christmas. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell icon so you get notifications whenever we've got new content delivered to you. So what we're talking about today is new agent survival. Because real estate, there's a lot of opportunities that exist, but they don't just fall into your lap. Or, actually, I shouldn't say that, because sometimes these opportunities do just fall into your lap, and whether it's you getting lucky, or the universe, or law of attraction, or whatever it is that you want to call it, you'll have those times where it is where you get lucky, but that's not enough to build a sustainable business off of if it's just getting lucky every now and then. It might be a great catalyst, it might be a great motivator, it might be a great propeller of pushing you forward, but that's not what you're going to rely on. So a lot of intentional things. Now, one of the things, and you've heard me talk about it so many times, is taking your post-licensing. Let's get that out of the way. Yes, we sell the post-licensing course, so yes, that's why I'm telling you about post-licensing, but it's not the only reason why I'm telling you about post-licensing. The benefit for you taking post-licensing is, number one, it's a requirement. You've got to do it. So you're going to lose your real estate license if you don't do it. But if you're like a lot of real estate licensees, myself included when I got my real estate license, you just want to go out and try to sell something and then you'll get all your other requirements knocked out later. In hindsight, that was a terrible way to do things because when I actually took the post-licensing course, I realized that it's not like your pre-licensing course. Your pre-licensing to get the license focuses on laws and rules you need to know to pass the exam, whereas this focuses on content about growing and starting a real estate business, more specifically on the business side of things rather than the law side of things like your pre-licensing course is. So this, you want to take it as soon as possible. Like I said, it's already a requirement. You're already going to have to do it anyways, so get it done sooner rather than later so that way you can take away the information that is designed to help you start your real estate business. Everybody taking this course is in the same boat as you. They're within their first 2 years or so, 18 months to 2 years of them getting their real estate license. Maybe they're taking it right away, maybe some have the renewal deadline coming up, but you're all kind of in that earlier stage, maybe at the longest being 2 years that you've had a license before. You're absolutely required to take this course, but there's a lot of time in that window if you're trying to practice real estate where you'll be learning by trial and error, which is a much more painful teacher of information than a course that isn't optional, a course that's required. It's just not a requirement that you take it right away. It's a requirement that you take it before your renewal deadline, which is usually within 18 months, but it's not a requirement that you take it right away. But again, I would highly recommend you take it right away. So that's a great way to, again, just speed up the process, because this is something you're going to have to do anyways. So get it done sooner rather than later so that way you can take away the information and be better prepared to start growing your real estate business. Now, The next portion here that you need really to, this isn't required to survive, but if you're wanting to practice real estate, you need a broker. You don't have to join a broker if you don't want to practice real estate, but if you do want to practice real estate, you'll either need to join a broker, or a secondary option is an owner-developer. That's like some sort of home builder or something along those lines where you're working directly for the person who owns the real estate and you're a sales representative of that company, selling only that company's real estate that they own. So think of like these home builders that you see building out homes in neighborhoods. They have sales staff that are licensees so they could pay them commission that work directly for them. But the downfall to working directly for a developer, there are benefits of where it's a little bit more like more stability, so it's a little bit more like a job rather than running a business, which running a business ultimately does have more upside potential, but it can be a little bit more unpredictable than something that's a little bit more steady that doesn't quite have as much limitless potential. But you can still make quite a bit of money working for an owner-developer. But one of the big downfalls is, and this is really the big difference between a broker and an owner-developer, is a broker, you're the middleman, whereas the owner-developer, you're working for the seller, the developer that's owning these properties. And since here you get to be a middleman, you could work with any buyers or any sellers. Here, you could work with any buyers, but only if they want to buy one of those owner-developers' properties. So that is an option to consider if you're looking at what it is that you want to do. If you like new construction, maybe you want to work for an owner-developer, or maybe you still work for a broker, and that way when you work for a broker, you could take people to multiple home builders as opposed to just a single home builder that you're working for, because even when you're brokering deals, you could still broker new construction in addition to resale homes. So for most agents, they're going to end up joining a broker. So that way they could work with anybody, friends, family members, for any property, anywhere in the state of Florida for the most part. That would be where you'd want to work with a broker. Now, choosing the broker, they're not all created equal. They don't intend to all be equal. They all have different value propositions, different things that you're getting in exchange for whatever it is that it's costing you to be part of that organization. And so that's really, again, kind of the big difference between this is more like running a business, working under a broker, where this is more like a job. Yes, it is still a sales position type of job, but you are much more limited here, whereas here you have a lot more possibilities and capabilities with this. But again, it's a little bit more unpredictable. You have a higher upside potential, but you have to put in that effort to manage that unpredictability to ensure that you always have business coming in. Now, when you're choosing your broker, they've got some way that they're going to make money off of you. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the way it's supposed to work is they provide some sort of services, some sort of benefits, whether it be training classes or advertising help, or maybe they've already got marketing material made up for you. Maybe there's administrative support. Maybe they've got phone support. Maybe they provide leads to you. Maybe they have open house opportunities. It depends. Maybe they give you business cards. Maybe you got to get your own business cards. So a lot of different factors to weigh in as you try to choose a broker. And that's why I would recommend taking your post-licensing course as soon as possible, because if you just come out of pre-licensing and passing your real estate exam, the information you're learning there is like, hey, what needs to be in a contract for it to be valid? Does it need to be in writing and signed? Not, okay, well, how do you present this offer to present it in the best way possible to where your client is going to be the most receptive to that offer? That's more of a post-licensing topic, whereas the law stuff, that's more of a pre-licensing topic. So taking the post-licensing course right up front, right away, you're going to have a better idea of how to practice real estate. And one of the really crucial things you do in the post-licensing course, and if you haven't taken post-licensing yet and you're not taking anytime soon, I would still highly recommend you start creating a business plan. And we put that right in as part of the post-licensing course, so that way you could start to build out your plan, so you know what your plan is, you know what you need to do to get the results it is that you desire. And now you have a living document that you can go back and revisit and rework and tweak and change as your business grows and develops over time. And when you have that created, and then you go to try to figure out what broker is going to be the best broker for you, you're going into this a lot more informed. Now, if you're interviewing with a broker or maybe a team leader or something like that, they might still be the most knowledgeable person in the subject in the room, but you're leaps and bounds ahead of it, especially when you've already studied some real-world business training stuff, which, like you're learning in post-licensing, when you already have a business plan created, so that way you could figure out, okay, this is how I want to be able to make money in real estate. This is what my plan is. And what you could do is you could take that business plan to different brokers and figure out how the programs, the concepts, the value that they offer, how that would fit into your plan. And what you're going to find out, especially the more specific your plan gets and the more defined it really becomes, is there are brokers that would be a bad fit for you and other brokers that would be a great fit. When you don't know what you're trying to do with real estate, when you don't have a plan and you're kind of just winging it, and look, I'm a big fan of winging it because it avoids planning, and planning can sometimes be a waste of time, but planning is not a waste of time here. It absolutely is not. This allows you to, again, be in the driver's seat. It puts you in the driver's seat, which you're always going to be in the driver's seat once you get your real estate license, you're out there trying to do stuff. The difference being, once you've taken your post-licensing course, you don't know just how to stay in the lines and avoid accidents. Think of like how we normally drive as a normal, just what it takes to get a driver's license. They want to ensure that you know the laws. But if you want to be a good driver, that just doesn't mean that you have a real estate license or a driver's license. Your driver's license just means you're legally allowed, that you have demonstrating a basic understanding of the laws of the road. That's basically what pre-licensing, just a lot more information, but still focusing on, hey, do you know the laws of the road of real estate? Whereas post-licensing is like, hey, here's how you drive like a NASCAR driver. And you might not be a NASCAR driver after a 1-week course of how to drive like a NASCAR driver, but you'll be a lot more well-informed and you'll be a slightly better driver because of that. But you'll also know what are the next steps you need to take to continue to grow and develop and improve upon yourself. Whereas if you just go get your driver's license and just try to go get in the Daytona 500, you're probably going to end up in a pretty ugly crash. You don't want that to happen to you. So that's, again, the importance of planning and the importance of understanding what really needs to go into this and what makes a successful real estate career. This isn't about reinventing the wheel. So that's one thing I want to say here. Don't reinvent. Not when you're starting out. Because here's what happens when people reinvent things. A lot of times, it's a failure. No, we talk about all the time about, when people, we talk about Uber. People think of a world before Uber and Uber Eats. Uber Eats especially. Think back, 5 years ago? I don't think Uber Eats was a thing at all 5 years ago. But now, especially given circumstances, how could we live without that? And that was a reinvention. That reinvented the way we've got food. But think of all the failures of delivery, and the only businesses that really seemed to do well with it before it just became mainstream like this was maybe like pizza, and what else could you get delivered? I guess Chinese takeout you sometimes get delivered. There was Jimmy John's that used to do, or still does delivery. So they were maybe some of the earlier business that did delivery, but now every business does delivery because the market has changed. But then there are a lot of companies that failed at this because they were trying to reinvent something without being prepared to reinvent something. When you're brand new to real estate, you may be brand new, but the real estate business is not brand new. It's been here for a long time, and there's processes and systems and tools that are proven to work. So when you're starting out, you want to have some sort of system really that you're following. And part of this is going to come from the information you're learning in your post-licensing. You're going to learn some very basic stuff in the post-licensing as it comes to advertising and marketing and farming in a particular neighborhood, how to find a farm area. And you're using methods that have been proven to work. Not just methods that are like, last year we tried this thing where we sent out letters to people and guess what? People eventually called us after we sent them enough letters and postcards. That's a really old school method. That's been around for a long time, but it still works today. And that's a great example of, that might not be the coolest or the hippest way to market and advertise, but sending postcards and sending letters absolutely still works. There's a lot of business that's had every single day from that very prehistoric form of marketing and advertising. Or I shouldn't say prehistoric, pre-digital, I should say. And as you start to develop your business and you start to develop a more sustainable business, then you could start to experiment. Then you could start to kind of reinvent things and change things up and really make yourself stand out. But at first, figure out how to stand on your own 2 feet. And what does that mean in real estate? Well, that means that you know how to find business and you know what to do with the clients once you have them. You know how to go out there and find leads, to warm leads up, to turn them into clients, what you need to do with the clients, to show them properties, to fill out contracts, to going through the closing process. There's going to be, if you haven't done that yet, there's going to be a first time that you do all of those things. Maybe you've shown properties yet, but maybe you haven't submitted any offers. Maybe you've submitted offers, but you haven't had any of your offers go under contract. Maybe you've had a property go under contract, but you haven't gotten to the closing process yet. And the first time you're doing any of these things, it's going to be more challenging than ever, especially if you don't know what to expect. If you don't know what those next steps are, if you don't know what's important to fill out when you're filling out an offer, when you're trying initially even just to find customers in the first place. A lot of agents get hung up just on this before they even get to the point of even having a client, of just, well, what's the best way for me to find new clients? And then you have those things we're talking about at the beginning where, business just kind of falls in your lap miraculously, whether that's a friend or family member or just somebody who happens to know that you've got your real estate license and they trust you enough to give you a shot, to give you a chance. Those will happen to you, but you can't rely on that as your sole source of business and your sole source of income. Unless you're just trying to do real estate extremely part-time and really you don't care whether you sell anything or not, then you don't necessarily need to take any action to try to get business. But if you do plan on selling at least one property this year, or maybe this month even, maybe you want to get to the point where you're selling multiple properties a month, then you need to be intentional about lead generation. And there's a lot of different ways you could do that, whether it's, and that's, we'll just stick that up here, lead generation. Getting into this technical stuff of actually practicing real estate, this is the most important aspect of a new real estate business. Because if your business does not have leads, you don't have a business. You might have a real estate license, you might be active with a broker, but if you don't have any clients or potential clients, what are you doing? A whole lot of nothing. So lead generation is extremely important. And you might have a broker that provides leads to you. Again, going back to choosing your broker, if part of your business plan, so there's ways you could find leads. A very easy way to find leads, but what I wouldn't recommend starting out, because it's actually not easy to set up, but once you do get it working, it's extremely easy because it only costs money, is advertising. There's a lot of different ways to advertise, and advertising is the most scalable way to get clients because all you have to do to get more clients is spend more money with advertising. And so as long as you get more money, you could buy more advertising. So as you close deals, you could reinvest that money into advertising and eventually grow your advertising. And that's, again, one of the most surefire ways to grow your business is through advertising, but the downside to it is that it costs money. And when you're starting a new business, you might have limited capital to start up that business. And one of the issues with real estate, yes, we do get paid very high commissions, but part of the reason why that is because people don't need our services every day. No one's signing up for a realtor subscription. This isn't an annual membership somebody pays to use a realtor. They pay one time when they actually need our services to sell or to buy. That's when we get paid, and sometimes that's 5, 7, 10 years down the road. So, yes, there's big paydays for this, but those big paydays are far and few between for an individual person. So what's important is reaching more people. And you could do that through advertising, but it's not just reaching them once. Because remember, they might be somewhere in that 5 to 10 year span. On average, in the United States, according to the Association of Realtors, people sell their home every 5 to 7 years. And you have neighborhoods where it happens quicker and neighborhoods where it takes longer because that 5 to 7 years is an average. But even if it's, let's say, that 5 to 7 year average, can you afford to wait 5 years for this one client to be ready to sell? Probably not. So the name of the game isn't just having one client, it's having multiple clients. And It's not just sending them one advertisement, it's sending them multiple advertisements so you stay top of mind, so they continue to remember who it is that you are. And so when they eventually start to become ready, they're already thinking about you. That's the whole name of the game when it comes to advertising in real estate. But it's expensive because it takes so long. And if it's not done correctly, it might not be cost effective, where you could be spending more money. And it's usually not in the long run. In the long run, once you actually get to selling some of these properties of the clients you're advertising to, then it definitely pays off because the commissions are so huge. But what happens a lot of times is through poor planning. Like I said, planning is important in this aspect of it here. I'm not always a big advocate of planning, but in this instance, I absolutely am. Planning is extremely important. The budgeting is extremely important because when you're a new business, you have limited resources. And even if you don't have limited resources, let's just say you have limited resources, because we all have limited resources one way or the other, some just maybe more than others. But when you have those limited resources and you set out a budget, but you get to the end of your money and you still don't have business coming in, now what? You've basically wasted all that money to advertise, because now all of a sudden you're going to stop advertising, and all that hard work you've put in of building memory and recollection with that audience is all going to be gone for nothing because you stop advertising. So unless you somehow find a way to continue spending money, but that might be at the time where you're thinking, I just need to cut my losses. So that's number one way to find business is through advertising, but I don't recommend it as a new agent because you still have too much to learn. You don't want to blow it on a lead that costs you hundreds of dollars. Because if you blow it with that lead that cost you hundreds of dollars, you just blew hundreds of dollars, and now you're on to the next lead that cost you maybe hundreds of dollars. And you can maybe get your lead costs down, but again, we're having these estimates because when you're new, unless you have some sort of digital advertising or advertising and marketing background where you really understand this stuff and you've done it in business situations before, if that's not you, this is new to you, again, there's going to be a learning curve to this and you're not going to be as good of it first and foremost. So that's way number one, is advertising to get leads. The second method you have to get leads, if you say, okay, you're right, I don't want to spend the money on advertising, let me figure out how to sell some stuff first, then maybe once I've got some money coming in, then I could reinvest that money into advertising and maybe, again, do the research and everything that's required to start getting business from that, because advertising is more of a long-term strategy. Option number two is a much more short-term strategy. It's through direct prospecting. Now, what is direct prospecting? Well, the best example of it is going door to door, knocking on doors, introducing yourself to homeowners, and trying to find one of these homeowners that has a need for your business services. And for the clients, the people that you meet that don't have a need for your services today, they eventually will within that 5 to 7 year window of when they bought the property, if they fit the average person mold. So what do? You establish contact. You start building the relationship now so you can thank yourself years down the road. But with prospecting, for every probably 9 of the people that you have that are going to be down the road people, you might have that one person that is maybe thinking about buying right now. Maybe the ratio is different for you as you start to do this. Again, anytime you do something the first time, it's going to be when you're the worst at it. You always get better over time as you continue to do it. But this, you could find a lot of clients if you knock on enough doors. And the great part about door knocking or a lot of the different methods for prospecting is it doesn't really cost you any money. Now, it's going to cost you time, but that you might have a little bit more of, especially when you're starting out in real estate. As you start to build a successful real estate business, that's when you start to run out of time. You'll have to buy back your time through different various methods, but you can worry about that later. Just worry about getting to the point where you've got no time left. Get to that point where you're doing so much for your clients that you've got to invest in building out a team to be able to continue to serve your clients at the same level you have been. So that's method number two, is through prospecting. Again, very low cost, pretty much no cost if you're just doing door knocking. It's just a matter of getting out there and knocking on doors and trying out maybe some different scripts to figure out what flows with you well and what works really well at not only trying to identify if there's a short-term business need, if they're potentially thinking about buying or selling right now, but then also establishing a long-term relationship so when they are ready to buy or sell, you're there to help them. You could also do this through cold calling as well. That could be a little bit more efficient way to prospect, but that usually does start to involve a cost because getting these phone numbers, that might be some sort of phone number list you have to buy. You also potentially have to, you do have to bind the do not call list, and that could potentially be a cost to this as well if you don't keep in line with the do not call list, but that's prospecting. So you have advertising, the most expensive way to generate leads. You have prospecting, which I'll say is probably, depending on the type of person, it could be one of the most intimidating ways to get leads, especially if I say door knocking, you're like, oh no, I'm not going knocking on strangers' doors. Nope, not going to do that. So maybe that way isn't going to work for you. So, well, how else can you get leads then? Well, option number 3 is your broker. Because a lot of times there's brokers out there that will provide leads. And yes, this is usually at some sort of cost. You're maybe paying a monthly fee to get these leads, or there's maybe a higher commission split where the broker gets a higher amount of commission than they normally would because they provided the lead to you. Which, again, if you're not going to do advertising and you're not too keen on doing prospecting, that's option number 3, and that's where it's going to be a lot more important that you join a broker that does have a lead generation program. If you join a broker where their business model, they expect you to do prospecting, and they're not going to give you any leads, they just expect you to do prospecting to get your own leads, but you don't want to do prospecting and you don't have money to advertise, that's not going to be a good broker for you. Or maybe you do want to do prospecting, and the broker that you're thinking about joining is telling you how they provide leads. But maybe you have some sort of sales background, maybe you've done door-to-door sales before or something like that. You'd be a perfect example of where you might not need the broker-provided leads, which if it's just an additional cost, okay, that might still be a good fit for you. But if this is already built in as a part of their structure and everybody basically gets this lead generation even though you might not need it, again, that might be where this brokerage might not be the best fit for you and what you're trying to do in real estate. But if you didn't take the time to figure out how you're going to find business, how you're going to lead generate, you haven't started to formulate that business plan yet, you don't even know what you're looking for in a broker. And putting yourself in the right environment is extremely important for building a successful real estate business and really building the foundation of that. If you're in an environment that you don't like, if you're in an environment that isn't giving you what you need, this is also something you want to be careful of with brokers, is there's a lot of them rolling out the red carpet for you to join, but then once you have joined, they don't always have the same type of experience. So maybe talk to some of the other agents that are registered with that brokerage, see what it is that they're maybe thinking about it, if they like it. And that's not the case for all brokers. There's a few bad apples out there, I would probably say. Who knows? I don't know of any personally, but I do know of that existing out there. There's tons of agents that you talk to where they'll change brokerages. And it's not even necessarily, I would say, with malicious intent, but you being a new agent, you don't understand what you need. And so you might go join a brokerage that isn't a good fit for you, and then you blame the brokerage for not being a good fit when really it was your fault because you didn't figure out what you needed from the brokerage in the first place and you joined the wrong brokerage. So it's not necessarily even that they're trying to get you and they're just out to make money off of you. Yes, they are in business to make money. All brokers are. But probably 99.9% of us people out here on this planet, we're good people, and we want to see others succeed as well. But again, we all have different perspectives and different views of how we see that success looks, and that's why there's different brokerages out there. If there was one way to make money in real estate, we wouldn't need thousands of different brokerages. But there's not one way to make money in real estate. There's limitless ways to make money in real estate. There's all kinds of different ways that you can market and advertise and plan your business and handle your clients. And again, different brokers have different values. You might have a brokerage that has a lot of high-tech features. It's a cloud-based brokerage where you can access everything online and they've got an app for your phone and all these things that are to make it so easy for you. But what if you're not that tech-savvy of a person? If you're not that tech-savvy of a person, should you really go join a brokerage that bills themselves as a very tech-savvy brokerage? That might not be the best fit for you. There's still brokers out there that do contracts on pen and paper that don't use electronic signatures. And if you're not too computer literate, that doesn't mean that you can't practice real estate. Now, there are some things you'll have to do on the computer that you will need to be able to use a computer for, but there's a lot of alternatives where you can kind of still do it the old school method, and I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. And that's still going to be threaded in there, and at the very least, you can maybe start to just gradually bring yourself up to speed with new technology. But you don't want to necessarily put yourself in an environment that's going to rely on you knowing this technology inside and out. If every contract and form and anything you don't need to download or anything like that all has to go through this special system that you don't quite understand, that could be a big barrier and a big roadblock to you being successful in real estate. So again, you want to do this personal analysis of what your business plan looks like, what your strengths are, what are your weaknesses, and then how do you find a brokerage that best matches up to that fits your plan for lead generation, that has a system in place, that has tools. You know, the worst thing you could probably do as a new agent is go join a broker that, and there's low-cost brokers out there. There's 100% brokers that have extremely low cost, but a lot of people like to use the analogy that you're on an island when you join a brokerage like this. That you might join a brokerage like this that they might have a well-known brand, and there might be a lot of successful agents there, but the agents are successful for their own reasons, not because of the broker's reasons. And they just happen to be there because it's a low-cost option, and they don't need a broker to be successful. These are the types of people that have a successful real estate business and they don't want to get their broker license because they're content with their level of business, and they might even have a team where it's like they have a real estate brokerage. But again, that's more of kind of in this island, this more isolated concept here, as opposed to there are brokerages that are out there where they are having systems and processes that are in place so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick with us. I'm John Christopher. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Charisma. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, and what we're talking about this week are new agent survival tips. And like I said, post-licensing, this is a course that literally, not only don't think of this as a requirement. It is a requirement. You have to do it. But that's not the primary reason why you should do this, especially if you're taking our post-licensing courses, because our post-licensing courses, we really try to make them to be content that has information that'll help you jumpstart your real estate business. And that's why business planning is a big part of the post-licensing. That's why lead generation is a big part of post-licensing. We talk about working with buyers and working with sellers so you have an idea of an understanding of this process, so you're not going into a showing wondering, and I kid you not, when I think it was probably my first showing that I did, but my first showing that I did, and it was extremely last minute that they wanted to see this property. I was able to get an appointment for it. I had to go down to the Association of Realtors because this was before the time where they just had the lockbox in an app on the phone. You have to have these little fob things that you would need to get into the lockboxes. So I went down to the G-Towers, rushing down there to go get my fob so I could get into this lockbox. I had that. And then I finally got there showing the property. I'd printed out the flyer to give them, and they're walking around, they're liking it. And I'm like, it hit me. I'm like, what if they like this property, they want to make an offer on it? I don't know how to do that. I was afraid that the house that I was showing, the buyer would want to make an offer on it. Why would I be afraid of that? Because that literally is the thing that means I'm going to get paid if that offer gets accepted and this property ends up closing. So why would I be afraid of that? Because I didn't know what to do. Because I'd never made an offer before. I hadn't even read over the contract, not even sure how to go about doing this. The brokerage that I joined was a little bit more like one of these island type of concepts. It was I won't name the name of the specific brokerage that I joined, but it was a brokerage where their philosophy, their program, the way it is that they worked is you had somebody that would recruit you into the company, and the person that recruited you into the company was the one that was responsible for mentoring you and guiding you. Well, the person that was recruited me into the company, they didn't actively practice real estate. All they did was just recruit people in, and I got in there, and I grew up in real estate, so that's part of my story, why it really kind of, people just had an expectation that I already knew this information when I had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing. So I was just trying to figure it out all on my own. I was on that island. I was on that island with my SOS sign, waving my hands to any planes that flew by, saying, hey, save us, save me, I don't know what I'm doing here. Or at least that was what was going on in my subconscious, because up front I was all cool, calm, and collected, like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I got this. That was my own fault for having that mentality when I knew I wasn't really knowledgeable and I should have sought out help. But eventually I had to take that post-licensing course, and I did it right before my renewal deadline because I'm a procrastinator and I didn't think this was going to be important information. I thought it was just going to be just like the pre-licensing with laws and rules, only to find out, oh, it's not. It's about stuff that I wish I knew 2 years ago because I've made a lot of these mistakes it says in here not to make. So post-licensing, really huge. It'll help you really better understand what you're trying to do with your real estate business. It'll help you find the right broker that's going to fit your business plan. It's going to help put you in a situation where you could join a brokerage, or you at least have a system. Because had I known at the brokerage that I joined that I would be basically on an island and it would be up to me to be able to develop and teach myself or seek out that information. And that's funny, teach yourself. How do you teach yourself something it is that you don't know? You don't. You either use the help of the internet, and the internet teaches you. It's not you teach yourself, it's that the internet teaches you, or YouTube teaches you, or whatever it is that's teaching you. There is no teaching yourself, because if this is new information, that means you did not know it. So there's some external source of this information bringing it to you. So what would have worked a lot better had I known and could have prepared for this is in that brokerage, if I wanted to grow and develop myself, I should have joined some sort of program. And that's actually what I ended up doing, and I did have some success eventually at that brokerage. But it was a rough start, and it's because I was trying to reinvent the wheel. I've told the story probably a million times. If you watch these live streams, you've heard me say it about me spending all this time to design my first business card. I was trying to reinvent the wheel. It's a business card. It's got to have your picture and your name on it, your brokerage name to be compliant with the FREC, and anything else your broker might say they want to have on there. And otherwise, that's it. That's all you need. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a business card. Your business card doesn't sell $1 million houses. It doesn't sell $100,000 houses. It doesn't sell any houses. It's a piece of paper with your contact info on it, and that's it. Don't worry about it looking cool. Just worry about having one quickly, easily, without wasting all your time. And that's a little bit more directed to my past self there, because you're probably not the person that's going to spend a week designing your business cards, but it's a great example as to how when you don't know the appropriate actions to take, you get caught up in the minutia. You get caught up in these tasks that, yes, they're tasks that you have to do, but they're not the tasks that are going to give your business leaps and bounds in progress. And when you're starting out, that's a big part to new agent survival, is you want to try to get those leaps and bounds. So you go from being a miserable person that doesn't have any business to somebody that has a successful real estate business. You want to make that jump as soon as possible. And you're not going to make that jump taking baby steps of, got my business cards. Okay, well, now what? Well, let me design an email signature. You know what? I actually probably need to set up my website. I know that I got to do that, and let me get all my social media profiles set up, and let me tell my friends to review me on Zillow, and let me do this, and all these little baby step types of things. What are the things that are going to make you leaps and bounds? Lead generation, because that jumpstarts you. What's the point of a website? To generate leads. The point of a business card? To generate leads. The point of all that advertising and marketing stuff is to get leads. But if you could bypass all that and go straight to a lead, that's a leap and bound. And then if you get to the contract, that's a leap and bound. And if you get to closing, that's a leap and bound. And look at all these leaps and bounds it is that you've made, and the little pieces start to fall into place. Who knows, maybe now that you've closed a property, maybe that you've got some commission, you could pay somebody to design your business cards so you don't have to spend a week designing your business cards. You could pay somebody who knows what they're doing with these graphic design programs. $50, $100, I don't know, something probably not too expensive. Maybe $5, you go on Fiverr.com, you could probably get a business card designed for like $5. There's no reason not to take advantage of other people's skills. You don't have to be great at everything. You got to realize what your strengths are and hone in on your strengths and making yourself better with your strengths and really leaning into that, because that's where you're going to have those leaps and bounds. And the things that are your weaknesses, at the end of the day, if it's something that you've got to do, then you've got to do it. But if it's something that you could delegate to somebody or buy back your time, that whole thing of buying back your time, having somebody else design your business cards and somebody else design your website and somebody else do all these little tasks that don't really get you too much return on investment right away, but are still very time consuming, you could pay somebody to do these things. But in order for you to pay somebody to do these things, you've got to get money coming in first. And that's why lead generation is so important. So that should be what you're trying to do right away. First and foremost, if you got to have a business card, fine, get your business cards as quickly as possible. I wouldn't even worry about the website thing. If your brokerage already gives you a website, great. Don't spend all kinds of time customizing it. Why? Because no one's probably even going on the website unless you're spending money to advertise to get people on the website. That's the way websites work. Unless that website has been around for some time and has a lot of other websites linking to it and all kinds of things that gives it organic ranking, then maybe you get business off of a website. But if it's a new website and it doesn't have any traffic on it yet, there aren't any people going on it, you could wait for search engine optimization to eventually kick in and you start going a little higher in like Google lists and things like that, but it's unpredictable and it takes years sometimes. Whereas advertising, you could flip that switch and just start paying money and you're going to start getting people on your website and you're going to start getting leads. But that's where you get into, again, this more complicated process of budgeting and understanding what this process is going to look like once you do have this lead here to get them to the closing. So that's why whether you're getting leads from your broker or you're doing prospecting, that's a much better way to start out with your business than advertising. But like I said, don't try to reinvent the wheel. That's probably the biggest thing that I could really recommend to you. You might have some great ideas, and those great ideas can have their moment. But once you've got some funding for these great ideas, and until you've got the funding for these great ideas, use the methods that are tried and true that have been proven to work. Because if it has worked for others, if you do the same things, it should work for you as well. Whereas if you've got some creative idea that you think is a game changer, there's been a lot of people that have great ideas, but then they go to execute on these ideas and they realize that they had blinders on and that there are these things that get in the way and that it wasn't as great of an idea if it turns out, but now you've already wasted all this time and money, so you continue trying to make it work and you just keep digging yourself deeper in this hole. Whereas if you start out using things that work, that you know for sure if you do these things, it'll get you business because that is what other people have done. Then later, once you've got some funding, you could start to experiment and try to figure out if these other ways really do make you more efficient or help you make more money. Or maybe you realize after doing things the tried and true method that, wow, there's no way what I thought would work. That happens a lot too. The whole hindsight is 20/20 type of thing. When you look back, you realize, oh, well, knowing what I know now, I know a lot more than I know in the beginning, and I know now that what I thought in the beginning would work actually wouldn't work. And you avoid that trap by letting go of your ego, because you might have this great idea, and when you've got a really good idea, you really want to try it and make it work and prove everyone wrong, especially when they tell you it won't work. And it might just work, but you don't know for sure because you haven't tested it yet. But when you're relying on your real estate business to put food on your table, use what works, and then once you've got some extra spending money, then you can start to experiment and play around, and then that's where you can really get fun and creative with stuff, and you might actually be able to find it. Your idea might be a fantastic idea, but I'd wait until you've got a little bit more stable foundation of your business to start testing those ideas. Because if you do find out that that idea wasn't so good that it doesn't quite work, you don't want to find that out when that was what you were relying on to pay your bills, to put food on your table, to just stay in business. Like I said, the new agent survival part of this year, your new agent stage, that's the most crucial time. Once you make it past like the first 2 years, the statistics skyrocket as to how long you're going to stay in real estate. There's a 2-year mark, there's a 5-year mark, there's a 10-year mark where you look at the statistics, and as you go deeper in time, people are having more successful real estate businesses, which, makes sense. The longer it is that you do this, the more successful that you get. But you're never going to get to that 10-year level of success if you give up on year one. And if you don't get any progress, you don't get any traction in year one, you're more likely to give up after year one. So that's why, again, you don't want to necessarily reinvent the wheel. Take what you know works. Take the systems, the processes that are from your broker, from your sales trainer, to whoever it is that's helping you get your start in real estate, and do what they say. Make that work. And once you make that work, then you can start to experiment a little bit. So look, if you want to sign up for post-licensing so that way you can start to build your own foundation of solid information that's going to help you better understand how to practice real estate, how to better lay out your business plans, how to choose the right broker, how to lead generate, how to understand sellers, how to understand buyers, post-licensing. It's for the cost of this course. Right now it's currently like $197 for our post-licensing course. How much real estate do you need to sell to get a $197 commission? Not much at all. You sell a $100,000 house. Let's say just one $100,000 house and you earn a 3% commission. That's $3,000. How many times have you paid yourself back for that $197 post-licensing if you just get a commission for $3,000? So this post-licensing course will have a lot of information that you probably don't know. There's probably going to be a lot of information that you do know, a lot of information that might sound obvious, and you just need the obvious things reconfirmed so you know that that's obvious, that it's not too good to be true. Because sometimes, have you ever had that feeling where, well, it can't be that simple? There's that phrase, that expression, that very common expression, it can't be that simple. Sometimes things are that simple. And those simple things that you already know, sometimes you just need to hear them again to really know that it really is that simple. And if it is that simple, well, why can't you do this? And that's the part of unlocking your mind's power to be able to not just understand real estate, but build a successful real estate business. And it all starts with feeding it with the right information. And that's what the post-licensing course is designed to do, to feed you the right information. Pre-licensing, if you've got a bad taste in your mouth because of pre-licensing, I'm sorry. It's about the laws, it's about the rules, because if you don't know those things, you won't pass your exam. You won't have a real estate license, and how to have a successful real estate business doesn't matter if you can't pass your real estate exam. And until the Florida Real Estate Commission changes it to where they're going to test you on business material as opposed to laws, you got to know those laws to get your real estate license. But I know that can be frustrating thinking that you're going to have to go back into another course of all these laws and rules. And yes, there will be laws mentioned in here as they're relevant, but the primary focus on this, again, is building your business, better understanding how to build a successful real estate business, and really getting your business up and running and building a strong foundation. So if you're ready to sign up for that, or maybe you need to do pre-licensing, we've got great bundle packages that include our post-licensing course in it if you commit to that right from the start to get yourself up and running. Our phone number is 813-333-2676. Again, that's 813-333-2676. You can also check us out online at tampaschool.com, or better yet, again, call us, text us, 813-333-2676. We're here to help you. We want to see you succeed because that's the way we succeed. We are not successful as a real estate school by not having successful students. If we didn't have successful students, we would not be a successful real estate school. Our business was built on building successful real estate careers, and to this day, a majority of our business comes from word of mouth advertising, from people that know who Tampa School Real Estate are because they went to Tampa School Real Estate. And they had a great experience with Tampa School Real Estate, and so they tell all their friends and family that, hey, you need to go to Tampa School Real Estate if you're thinking about getting a real estate license. That's our mission, and that's why we really are here to help you build a successful real estate career any way it is that we possibly can. Because doing that helps you have a successful real estate career, and if we can be part of that process, we know you're going to refer us business in the future. So it's the same way you want to operate in your real estate business. You know, this isn't a new concept that we've invented here. Working by referral is a very tried and true method of building a successful business, not just in real estate, but basically any sort of business. And that's how you want to treat your clients. You want to give them such a great experience so they feel an obligation to refer you their friends and family. And that's a way to lead generate that requires no money for advertising. Just providing a great service. But that's not a way you can get business really up front, because if you haven't done any sales yet, well, how do you kind of start this whole process? So you got to use one of these other methods here to really start building upon like your lead base and starting to build a database of past clients. But as you start to have a list of past clients, then you've got now future clients, not just from those past clients eventually selling their house and buying another one again, but also their friends and family member that will refer to you because you did such a great job and they know and love you and trust you so much. That's the type of relationship you want to have with your clients, and it's the relationship we strive to have with our students every single day here at the Tampa School of Real Estate. So again, if you've got questions, our advisor's standing by, 813-333-2676, 813-333-2676. That's about all the time we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you on Friday for State of Real Estate. Hey, so if you're thinking about starting a real estate career, it could feel a little overwhelming sometimes. Look, that's completely understandable. That's why we're here to help. If you haven't already, check out our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, or if you don't even know where to begin, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. Give us a call. We're the Tampa School of Real Estate.
Do you want a career that allows you to be in control? With a career in real estate, you'll get to call the shots. Whether you're looking at starting part-time or want to become the next top agent, a career in real estate makes it possible. Find out what it takes at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrisma with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.